Welcome back to another episode of Real Results with Coach Joe. I'm your host, Coach Joe Villus. This is the program where we help you to improve your health, increase your wealth, and live a more fulfilling life. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He's a former U.S. Navy SEAL, co-host of Fox #1 hit show Special Forces, the world's toughest test, now streaming on Hulu. He's also the creator of an amazing fitness program called Elite SEAL Fit. He's an aspiring author, motivational speaker, and an inspiration to so many. I want to welcome to the show, Jovon Quarles. Jovon, welcome to the show, my friend.
How you doing, brother? Nice to be on here, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on the show, so I'm excited to be here. So thank you, and I got to get that back. And that intro, man, I got to give it to you. That was sharp, man.
I'm trying.
I'm all giddy over here.
I'm trying, and the pleasure's all mine. Seriously, we're gonna have some fun today. I know I don't have all afternoon. We only have 30 minutes with you, so I want to cut right into it. You've got an incredible story, and I want to share that with our viewers. So, Jovon, if you could, let's take it from kind of how you came up, got into training the SEAL teams, things like that, and got to where you are today. Just lay it on us.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna get right into it. Like you said, for time, I want to make sure everyone can get everything that we're trying to get to them on the show. My name is Jovon Quarles, like you've already said here. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., born and raised primarily by my grandparents up there in the northeast side over there. And my grandparents were the one who really took care of me. My aunts and uncles also played a role as far as being that father or that motherly figure for me as well, because at that same time, my mom was a drug addict. She was in and out of prison, domestic violence, you name it, she did it in that time. I'm born in 1980, so I grew up in the 90s in Washington, D.C., which is back then, before I graduated high school. It was a very rough time. Drugs, alcohol, violence, all that stuff. So she was heavily into that space, and I didn't know who my dad was either. So it wasn't like I had a person that can kind of go into and kind of also help raise me in that way, in the right way to kind of really, be a man, so to speak, right? My grandfather did the best he could. My grandmother did the best they could. So with all that, going on in the D.C. area, eventually, seeing all the stuff that I had to see. I mean, I remember being in my neighbor's house, watching my mom being pulled out of the house by the police officers from fighting, from drugs, all that kind of stuff. And I even used to find the drugs as a kid because I was a very curious kid. So I was always like searching stuff because I was just curious. I was one of those kind of ways. So, yeah, sure. And I used to sit there and watch it all the time, man. I used to see her get in the fist fights. It was just the craziest time back then. Wow. So eventually my grandparents moved me down to North Carolina, which is where I graduated high school now at that time. Right. And south of Charlotte, or north of Charlotte, really, and a small country town. So I go from the city to the country. Big difference, right? Totally don't get in that happy with the move, because I was still having my little issues as well coming up, because I was the one kid in my family who just didn't have the parents. Like my cousins had their mom and dad in their life, and I was the one looking up to them because I wanted to be like them. I wanted that lifestyle like they had, my cousins did. Right. So going from D.C. to North Carolina was a huge change for me. Had my own personal struggles. When I first got there, people didn't really like me. I was very poor, especially because I used to wear the same clothes on Monday. I'm wearing them again on Thursday to go to school. Right. My hygiene wasn't there. I mean, I got teased a lot. It was just one of those things for me. So it was very, traumatizing, I guess you could say at the time. Yes. And my mother comes in and out of prison. She tracks us down. She comes all the way down from D.C. down to North Carolina. She tries to move in and tries to do all these different things. My grandmother tries to force us to have a relationship. Wasn't working. We got into our own fights, back in the 90s. So I can honestly speak to that kind of stuff when I say that it was just hell, right. My friends in high school that I did have, they were kind of in the drug game as well. So they even knew about my mom. So imagine you're in high school and your friends know about the destruction which your mom is creating and what she's doing, the drugs, the alcohol. Right. Had a brother and sister later in life. My brother's dad took custody of him as soon as he was born, roughly. And my sister, she was taken into foster care pretty much almost immediately. So a lot of these things I had to deal with as the older child, watching and unfolding in my life, right? Wow. Got into sports eventually, and that kind of helped me dream bigger, right? I started finding out that I'm really good at football and track. I was really fast and all that stuff, but the support from my family wasn't able to be there because my family primarily in D.C. My grandmother was a diabetic. From the left knee down or right knee down, I think it was, right knee down, I believe. She was amputee, right? So, and she had a lot of health issues, so she couldn't come see me play. So a lot of my friends' parents who knew about my situation were there to root me on and support me and give me that kind of love and stuff like that. So I grew up into all of that stuff, and then my own stuff. I had kids in high school, so now I'm a teenage kid, teenage dad.
Right.
Just all kind of craziness, and then eventually went to the Navy, and then some more stuff goes from there. But that's just the more upbringing, and going into the military prior to that. Prior to that, it was just one of those things where I didn't even care about the military back then. When I joined the Navy in 1999, it wasn't a thing for me.
Right.
Then I went to the Navy, right? Well, then I went to Navy, yeah. So going to the Navy, and then I came in as a SAR swimmer at first, right? Because now I ain't gonna lie to you, was not a swimmer.
Right.
Don't know how to really swim like that. I just understood the idea of how to work hard and kick your butt off and just go through it, through the motions of it, right? So that's what I did, and I was able to survive that. Go in, still having trouble. I get kicked out of my first program.
Wow.
The Navy kicks me out. Now I'm like, nope, you can't do that. Well, they're like, no, you can't do that. You're going to do this now, because now I am being used as a tool for whatever the Navy sees fit for what they need as a job. So I do a job as an engineer, kind of forced into that when I kicked me out of the SAR swimmer job. And then I found the SEAL teams after that. And when I signed up for the SEAL teams, it was all she wrote from that point on. I felt home there. I really wanted to have a bigger impact on the world, what was going on with the war, because I joined the military in 99.
Right.
So I was already in when 9/11 happened and all these other things were going on. So I really wanted to have a true impact on what was going on with the world.
Right.
And for me, that was one of those things where once I got into Buzz program, the truth of it, right? Most people don't know this story, and I'm going to go ahead and give it to you here. I quit the first time.
Really?
I did. I was one of those people who gave up. I was one of those people who, when I ran into a wall or ran into something that I thought was challenging for me during Hell Week, right, is when I let it go and I actually quit.
Wow.
And I rang the bell. And that hurt me.
Yeah.
That hurt my ego, that hurt my pride, because up to that point, when it comes to physicality, I was always doing well physically, right? Graduated high school as a senior male athlete of the year. So physically, I thought I was the man.
Right.
But when I ran into a challenge, I didn't know how to handle something that's hard.
Right.
When I started failing certain things, and I let that get into my head, and I let it kind of convince me that maybe this isn't for me. Maybe go in and just do something else. And I rang out like 2 a.m. on Tuesday night of Hell Week.
Wow.
And for people who don't know what Hell Week is, it's a selection part of the program where you go 5 days straight from Sunday night. And you go from Sunday night to Friday morning. You get about 3 hours of sleep total. Not each day, total, right? And on Tuesday, somewhere around 2 a.m. is when I got kind of delirious, and I just I let all that stuff sink in, and then I quit.
Wow.
I did everything I could to get back into it.
Right.
Everything I could to get back into the program. I was very upset with myself.
Yep.
And my grandmother, she was getting to that point where she was really unhealthy, right? And I really wanted to impress her. I wanted to show her I can do things differently than what we was used to growing up in DC.
Right.
And so I got a chance to go back. It was tough. They first denied me when I tried to go back because I started getting senior a little bit, and then they let me in. I got in there, and man, I got back to the same point where I quit again in Hell Week on that same Tuesday.
Right.
Felt that same pull, right? Something was pulling me, saying, nope, just I hit that wall again, right? That brick wall that anyone hits when you're trying to do something right, when you're trying to do better, when you're trying to live, when you're trying to survive, when you're trying to be successful. That's when things start to come at you, and you start to question yourself because you don't believe you can achieve it.
Right.
It's right there, but you don't believe you can fully achieve it. Same thing happened. I didn't quit this time.
Yes.
Long story short, the struggles I had through Buds was the struggles I had because I failed something at least once. Every time you only get one time to fail something because you got to take it again the next morning earlier.
Wow.
Right? So it make it even worse. So if you fail it the second time, you're done.
Right.
So I failed something at least one time every time going to that program. It was totally different for me. Right. I'm a black dude from Washington, D.C. Ain't no swimming pools in Washington, D.C. Let's just be honest. Ain't no swimming pools in D.C. I go to North Carolina, totally different. I'm in the country now. So I didn't go on camping trips with my family, right? I didn't go to the beach with my family. I didn't do these kind of things to help me understand what to expect when I went to that program.
Right.
So long story short, when I graduated Buds, I ended up being the first black guy to graduate top of his class in that Navy SEAL portion of training ever in history.
That's amazing.
So that was a huge achievement. That was a huge achievement for me. And because my grandmother passed away during training, so she didn't even get the chance to see me win that accolade, Wow. So that was a huge pain point. but she was still a driving force for me, right? I think when it comes to being successful in whatever that thing may be, I think you have to be inspired by something.
Yes.
That's truly where I believe, right? Motivation is something that goes up and down. You can be motivated for 1 minute to do something, you're crazy about it for like a month, right? And then at the end of the day, something hits you and then you're not motivated and you totally just forget that goal and it's gone. But if you're inspired by something, I think that's what carries people to go through something and go through the challenge, go through the heartache, the heartbreak, the hardships, everything that's like against you. I think the inspiration was the key for me. And I wanted to make her proud. So I graduated top of my class. And then we had another 6 months of another training. I graduated that one top of my class. And that was the first time I think anyone had ever done that.
Wow.
Period, back to back. And they used my helmet. You know, we wear a helmet when you're going through the training to become a SEAL for that whole year. And they used my helmet and they sent it to the Navy SEAL Museum in Fort Pierce, Florida, which I have some pictures of it, which is kind of cool. They sent me the display of it. So that was awesome, man. And, you know, that was where the career started. That's when I was really able to get back and got into public speaking, got into, you know, writing and so many different things and wanted to be an entrepreneur. And then mental health is the main thing. And now that I'm out 22 years later from the military, I have the freedom now to create and give back to the youth, give back to people, give back to society and let them understand that, you know, it doesn't matter what your situation is when you're born or when you're raised or what kind of environment you're into.
Right.
There is a way out. But first, it does start with you, right? Mm-hmm. Us as individuals. Yes. And I'm sure you already understand that. I know I can already tell by talking to you. You already understand. It starts with us individually first. You have to want that thing. Yes. If you don't want it, nothing will come from anything, right? You get nothing from nothing, period.
Right.
It has to be a conscious decision because winning is a conscious decision, just like losing is a conscious decision, right? You're quitting because you start justifying excuses of why you shouldn't do this. Or maybe God is saying, I should do something else because this is too hard for me, right? If God really wanted me to do this, it would come so easy, right? That's what people, I think, mistakenly believe sometimes. But it ain't that. God wants you to do it. He wants you to be successful in anything that you want to be into. But you have to wish that or hope or push to be a better person, a better human into that thing. And you have to dig deep and go into that thing because anything that's worth having, you're going to go through some kind of strife and some kind of challenge. So long story short in that, I don't want to take up too much. But that was the story piece a little bit. Quick piece to that. And, you know, from now my Instagram is my main portion of how, you know, people identify me and reach out to me and stuff like that and everything else. But back to you, brother.
Yeah, no, Jovon, I mean, your story is unbelievable. And there's so many like pieces within that I want to dive into and obviously relate to what you're doing now, like since you've been out and how you're giving back. I want to go back to that, like that spot in Hell Week at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night. You haven't had any sleep. You guys are, I'm sure, beat down beyond what most people could even tolerate, right, for like an hour. You've been doing it for days on end. And you got to that point where you quit the first time. Take us back to that spot, just even for a minute. Was it that thought of impressing your grandmother, that inspiration that really kind of pushed you through that second time to continue? Like, do you remember what was going on in your head at that time that, like, when your back is against the wall and you're like, I don't know if I can do this, you tipped yourself over the edge and got it done? Like, what was that tipping point for you to make it happen and get through?
Honestly, what you just said is the true nature of how I was able to successfully get past that point, right? That wall that was holding me back. It was my grandmother. It was my kids, right? Yes. Being a teenage parent and having a grandmother who gave me everything she possibly could. But at the end of the day, her health was so deteriorating and she was so unhealthy and just her body was just in such pain on a regular basis. So I wanted to make her proud of me to say that her grandson that she took care of, you know, from a young age when I was a child, like a child. My mother, as far as I know, was on drugs since when I was born. She was on drugs back in 1980. So and even to this day, she's still that way. Wow. So the goal was to make my grandmother proud of me. Yes. And make my kids be able to say my dad is doing something that's none of their friends could ever say they've done before. None of their friends' parents could say they've done before. Right. And I wanted to be unique, right? Something so different. And I just had a passion for that. Be better, being more. Yes. And my grandmother, man, when I got to that point, I was looking across the harbor because the training is in San Diego. Right. And on Coronado Island in San Diego, you can see the Navy ships across the harbor. Yep. So I got to that exact same point. We just finished eating. It's around 1, 2 a.m. We're about to get ready to go do something else, putting the boats on our heads, right? Because you got to run with boats on your heads, inflatable rafts. Yeah. Just as I'm doing that, I can see the lights of the regular Navy ships across the harbor just glowing up through the night. And part of me wanted to say, you know what, I could quit this, just ring out and go and do something else in the Navy. And it's just as, predominant, it's just as, awesome to serve my country. And I can at least say that I did that, right? I can at least say I tried to be a Navy SEAL. I can own that at least and say I did that, right? But when I looked over there, I think a piece of that said, don't quit. You came here for a reason.
Yes.
To accomplish the mission. You didn't come home. You didn't come here to be second, third, fifth, fourth place. You came here to finish, right? And you wanted to impress your grandmother. You wanted to impress your kids.
Yes.
Yes, you can go over there and do anything in the Navy because any job in the military is admirable, right? Any job in the military is admirable because you're serving your country. You're going overseas. You're doing all these different things. But I still wanted to be something more. So becoming a Navy SEAL will be the tip of the spear for me. And I really had something that I want to give back to that and want to show other youth. Doesn't matter your race. Doesn't matter where you come from, your history, right? Black, white, Asian. We all struggle at some point, right? We all come up in trailer park trash homes. We all come up in the ghetto. We all come up in the sewer, right? With my sister, foster homes, all of that. We've had that experiences. So I wanted to show those kind of people that, hey, even though I went through all of that, and I even had custody of my sister when I turned 21. I got her out of foster home, foster care when I turned 21. That you can be successful.
Yes.
You just got to change it. So I was inspired to be greater than myself.
That Jovon, that is amazing. And I obviously have so many more questions for you. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to dive more into your story, Jovon, and especially what you are doing today to keep giving back to the world community. Hey, it's Coach Joe here, and I want to thank you for checking out this episode of Real Results. Since becoming a coach over a decade ago and getting to help tons of people make incredible transformations, I've made it my mission to find the most effective tools to help people change their health and ultimately their life. As a thank you for watching this episode, I've created a series of free mini courses, downloads, and resources that you can use to create real change in your life. Simply click the link in the description or head over to www.resultswithjoe.com and click on the free resources tab. All you have to do is sign up using your best email address and you'll have access to all the resources straight away so you can start to create real change in your life. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, and let's enjoy the rest of this episode. Welcome back to Real Results. With me today, I've got Jovon Quarles, former Navy SEAL, and he was just giving us his incredible story from childhood up through his time in the SEAL teams and beyond. And Jovon, I want to hop into what now is a major part of your life and your mission to give back to people, both who are veterans and folks in the everyday community as well. And that is this topic of mental health. So I understand you're working with an organization now. Tell us a bit about that, kind of what you're doing, what the mission is, and how can we get the word out to help more people?
Oh man, I appreciate that. Mental health has been a huge important. Let me just back up on that because mental health, not only just recently, I've recently realized that it's been such a major piece in my entire life. Yes. Mental health, right? And I think everyone is starting to now be aware of how important mental health is. Your state of mind, your state of your mindset. Depression, anxiety, fear, all those things that come in. Suicidal thoughts, all those things in. So recently, right, I partnered up with an affiliated company that is really doing creating a product line that's really geared to the mental health aspect of people's lives, right? The hormone, the serotonin, the dopamine, all those kind of things that's really geared to get you into. They call it the happy juice, right? The name is kind of like cheesy, of course. Okay, I'll say that, but I like to call it the juice, right? That's my nickname for it. But man, what it's really get to is to understand how that to get people out of the depression state, right? My mom clearly drug issues. She's a drug addict. She was a drug addict when I was born. Yep. She's a drug addict still today. Wow. And she's in her 60s. So I want people to get that. And now when I even try to see her, just to say something to her, because I'm trying to just be some type of, good, decent child or human being towards her. Right. When I see her, you can just see how her mind is just gone. Yeah. She has an anxiety all the time. She thinks somebody's trying to rob her. And I'm sure that's from all the stuff she's done in her past. All that stuff is haunting her now. Yes. It's just coming back. Her mental health is gone. Yes. Cognitive function is gone. Right. And even me personally, I've dealt with it myself. With my friends, my ex-co-workers. Last year, I had a commander who was in my SEAL team, SEAL Team 1. Right. committed suicide. That was a commander, right?
Wow.
I want people to really catch mental health as such a huge issue.
Right.
And that people think that if you're a celebrity or if you're a millionaire or if you're this top person, you don't deal with it, but people deal with it. And this man, a Navy SEAL over 20 years with a wife, 3 kids, killed himself.
Wow.
And it's one of those things where it just hits home. And there's been others too at the same time. So I'm just telling people it really hits home for me.
Yes.
And I had my own depression when I first retired from the Navy in July 1st of 2021.
Right.
I came out, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I had no direction. I had no motivation or nothing inspired me at the time. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I created Elite SEAL Fit. Eventually, took a minute, but I created my own fitness program where people can go and see it at EliteSEALFit.com, and you can reach out to me and all that stuff. But my primary push right now is the mental health thing. The mental health kick is where we're going at. So people can go in and get into that. And if you want to try my product line, I'm telling you, it's amazing, right? I take a lot of it. I take this stuff every single day. I just want people to understand that. Right. You're talking to someone who is genuinely taking these products every single day. I'm not promoting something just for a buck.
Right.
Okay, I want people to understand that. I want people to really understand this is a true passion of mine, and I wouldn't be pushing this if I didn't believe in the product line itself. And it really helps people, especially women. And I think the company is really gearing a lot of stuff to women because women carry more emotions than us men, right? I think we can agree.
Right.
Women are the power behind this world to me.
Yes.
Right? Yes. They deal with anxiety. They deal with so many multiple things they got to take care of mentally throughout their life. They're more attached to their emotions than we are as men, right? Yes. Men, we try to be hard, but women, they're so much more attached to those things. They carry kids for us. They bear kids for us. They raise these kids for us. They deal with so many different things.
Yes, they do.
So a lot of this stuff is really geared to them, their hormones, all that stuff. So I'm telling you right now, I love what we're doing, and I'm just enjoying the push up the circle.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's interesting, right? Like mental health, I feel like wasn't really the topic, and then the pandemic hits, and now everyone's stuck home all the time, and it really started to bubble up, and you see just the toll it takes on an everyday person who's kind of cooped up. They're not getting social interaction. Maybe their job's lost, like their dreams gone, whatever, and like the toll that it just takes on you day after day after day. Like you have to be standing guard at the door of your mind, at the gate of your mind, right? And protecting yourself the best you can. And it sounds like this product line is something that can really help people who are struggling, right? And they don't have to go, I'm sure, buy a million different things, but even just start with a couple things to help them to maybe alleviate some of that pressure, that anxiety they feel. Is that accurate? Is that kind of what it does?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like a juice. Right now I'm drinking protein right now, but it's a juice, and it tastes like lemonade, strawberry, mango is one of the new flavors with lion's mane in it. So there's a lot of different good products in it. It's very holistically based, so the ingredients are really natural. So I want people to understand that this cannot affect you if you're taking your own medication and all that stuff. The goal is to get you off those medications, truly, to get you off. Right. Because most people don't know, and I'm sure you know this though, that your gut, right, your gut health is really the next thing that really is going to get you into that right mindset, that make you want to attack the day, be more productive, be more in that happy feeling mood, right? So your gut is your second brain, and that's where these product lines are really geared towards, to helping to fix your gut health, clear that out a little bit, so you can actually start to be in that better mood, because that's just the nature of the beast right there. So it's an awesome product line. They can follow me on Instagram at Jovon Quarles, and then there's a link in there where they can get it. And like I said, we got a few different flavors, from mango to grape and strawberry. But it's telling you, it's taking off.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it really is, like, for folks watching, it is a holistic approach, right? Like everything's connected. So just like working on your mind, you got to work on your body, you got to work on your diet. All these things are going to help support your mental health over time. So Jovon, I know we're kind of getting toward the end of the episode. Selfishly, I got to bring up your hosting on the show Special Forces, because that is a favorite of ours in the household. It's my wife and my probably favorite show that we've watched of recent. So tell us a bit about that. How did you get on to being one of the staff on the show? It's so cool.
Oh, okay, awesome. I know we got some time here, so what I'm gonna do real quick is go right into it.
Yeah.
Really, they hit me up about it on social media, because my Elite SEAL Fit program that I've been running, personal training, my program that I sell online for people to do, they was searching for another Special Forces person, and they found me. Right. Wow. They had found a few others that they were interviewing, but I was one of the people they interviewed, and we interviewed for 3 months over Zoom. And eventually, got to the point where it was time to crunch time for them to make a decision on which one of the new prospects they wanted to have, because they already have three. They wanted the fourth.
Right.
And they went with me, right? And
Awesome.
next thing I know, they fly me out to New Zealand, and we shoot Special Forces World's Toughest Test Season 2 in New Zealand with, I think, 14 total celebrities, right? And they age from, their pretty much backgrounds are from different genres, right? You got sports, professional sports, you got Olympics, you got TV show hosts, you got podcasters, you got social media influencers, and you just got them all. Music people,
right?
So, and we just took them through a whole process for like 8 days straight. That was the episodes, and it was basically last man standing, or woman, right? Because we had women on the show as well.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen it, go to Hulu and type in Special Forces World's Toughest Test. You'll see it, season 2.
Yes.
And we crushed it, man. And I had a great time. The celebrities and I have an awesome relationship now since the show, and we got another hit for season 3. Can't tell y'all where it's going to be at yet, and can't tell you the cast because we don't have that yet. But season 3 is going to be amazing because Fox did ask me to come back. And now I say, absolutely, I'm coming back. So let's go. I'm back again.
That is amazing. I cannot wait till that comes out. It is like one of the most bingeable shows I've ever watched. I think my wife and I knocked it out like in maybe 2 or 3 nights. Like we just went right through it because it was so good. So definitely I had to ask about that, having you here on the show. But Jovon, we're kind of coming up on time. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you, maybe speaking engagements, your Elite SEAL Fit program? Like what's the best place for people to go to?
Everything can come to me on Instagram. If they want to reach out to me directly, they can if they're looking for other, little collaborations, my email is on my Instagram. My name is Jovon Quarles, Jovon P. Quarles, because my son is also Jovon Quarles. I don't want you to get mixed up. Anyone who looks me up get mixed up with my son. So you got to make sure you put the P as my middle initial. Jovon P. Quarles, and we can go from there.
Awesome. Jovon, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a pleasure to have you. I really cannot wait to get your message out to as many people as humanly possible. So thank you for your time. And if you're looking to create real results in your life, you can head over to resultswithjoe.com, join our free supportive coaching community, and we'll see you all on the next episode.